Okay. So for this class, we're gonna use a couple of blocks if you have them, and a strap. And if you don't have a strap, a resistance band would work. And then for today, we're also gonna use a wall. So you don't have to start close to the wall, but at some point in time, I'll have you move close to the wall. This class is going to be kind of a workshop style class. It's our final class for the month of the Muladhara, the first chakra. And most of these classes have kind of been very focused, very slow, and sometimes intense. So the first week, we looked at the feet, the foundation. And as far as first chakra goes, that's our connection to the earth. That's how we ground. That's our roots. So we built that stable foundation in the first week, our first class. And the second class, we had a story of Hanuman and that journey of forgetting what he had already deep inside, but he discovered that when he needed to achieve this impossible feat, that he had faith and that he had the desire and the will to do it. So we all have those opportunities to kind of search deep within and notice that we have already within us what exists to do whatever it is we want to do. And then last week, we looked at fear, the shadow side of first chakra, and knowing that the only way to move beyond our fear, our shadow, is to move within the darkness to find the light. And so this week we're moving to kind of the culmination of what first chakra is, which is that we have, when we look at the things, the grounding, the foundation, when we look at what's within, when we face our fears, that we have the ability to manifest abundance. So that's kind of this culmination of first chakra. And we'll explore kind of all the things that we have talked about on that philosophical level, but also the physical level. So today we're going to explore physically a transition that is somewhat controversial. It's moving from Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3, which is a balance pose, which is that first chakra, into Ardha Chandrasana. So we're moving from a neutral hip position into an open hip position. But we're going to create the foundation so that we can do it. We can face our fears and kind of achieve this thing that for some people is scary. So we're going to use the blocks, a strap, and a wall. We're going to start with a block and just come into a seated position. So resting with your hands on your thighs, either up or down. Actually, let's rest with them up, touching your thumb to your first finger, which is the earth mudra, which first chakra is our connection to earth. It deals with the element of earth, of grounding, of centering, of finding internal balance. When you come into the seated position, just allow your eyes to gently close. And start to connect to your foundation. So feeling where your feet, your legs, your sit bones connect to the ground or the block beneath you, feeling rooted, feeling stable, steady. And feeling the rest of your body align with ease atop of this stable, steady foundation. And then allow your mind to rest on your breath. And again, looking for that steady, even, calm breath. Feeling as you inhale, the breath move deep into the lungs, feeling expansion in the lower ribs and lungs. Breathing in and out through the nose. And noticing as you find that steady breath, you find a sense of ease and comfort in the body and the mind. And you can introduce the mantra within your mind, so hum. So as you inhale, so, and as you exhale, hum. And this simple mantra means I am, which is the essence of Muladhara, of your root chakra. Creating that presence of self and feeling grounded and stable within that concept, that idea of oneness. And slowly bring your hands to meet at heart center, bowing your head. And slowly blink your eyes open and lift your head. Go ahead and lean forward to remove your block. And have one block at the front of your mat. And then you're going to have the other block close by, as well as your strap. I'm going to workshop style these. So you're going to watch me, and then I'll give you a few minutes to explore each of these things. So the first move we're going to do, watch first. You'll come onto your back. Right knee is above your hip, arms out to the side, left leg is extended long. And then slightly turn my left foot out. Watch as my hand brushes across my chest. The hand starts to reach towards my arm, towards my hand. As I start to roll onto my left side, my right knee is pushing straight up. So this is taking the outer hips to push the knee straight up. Left foot is pushing into the floor. So you'll feel this in your outer hip. And then you'll roll back down. And you'll do this kind of exploring the pushing of the knee up to feel the outer hip engage. So you're coming to where your heel, your hip, and your shoulder are all in one line. Both legs are active, but in different areas. So go ahead and come down onto your back. Bend your right knee so your heel is in line with your hip. Left leg is long to the ground. Extend your arms out to the side, T to the body, palms facing up. Go ahead and allow your left foot to turn out. So the leg inside the hip socket is externally rotating. Take your right hand across your chest, bring it down your right arm. Start to push your right knee up towards the sky as you roll onto your left side body. Pause here, push the knee up as you push the left foot firmly into the ground. So your right hip is stacking directly on top of your left. Heel, hip, and shoulder of the left side of your body are all in one line. Roll back onto your back. So start to move in this, kind of going onto your side and your back body at your own pace. Noticing how as you roll up onto your side, if you push the knee up closer to the sky, what happens in the back of your hip? Noticing what you feel on the left side of your body as you push your left foot down into the floor. So we're creating that stability, that foundation through the hips, the legs, the feet, our physical root chakra, our foundation. And the next time you roll up onto your left side body, stay here again. Take your right hand, if you can, and place it behind your knee. So it's taking a little bit of balance. Start to press the knee back into the hand and reaching the knee up towards the sky. Notice what you're feeling in your outer right hip. Press your left foot firmly down into the ground. Hold here. You feel the hips. I took Shalisa's class this week. If you, and I think it was last week's, but the outer hips, I'm really feeling it today. Go ahead and roll back down onto the ground. Bring your right foot to the ground and switch. So bend your left knee. Reach your right long straight to the ground. Arms out to the side, T to the body. Bring your knee above your hip, shin parallel to the ground. Turn your right foot out to the side, so externally rotating the leg bone in your hip socket. Bring your left hand across the chest. Start to take it down, your upper arm, lower arm, palms touch. Pause here, right foot presses down, left knee reaches up towards the sky. Really feeling the hip, the left hip engaged to position the knee over the hip. Roll back down. And then at your own pace, start to explore this movement. Noticing as you roll onto your side, does your left hip stack on top of your right? So it's as if you're taking your entire body into one plane when you roll onto your side. As if you could fit your body between two panes of glass. So that outer left hip is really squeezing to push the knee up towards the sky and stack left hip on top of right. The next time you roll onto your side body, pause here. Keep your right hand on the ground. Take your left hand behind your knee and start to push the knee into the hand on the outside of the knee. At the same time, push the outer edge of your right foot down into the ground. So it's that combination of lower leg and upper hip that creates that stability to stay on your side. Go ahead and release back down onto your back. Bend both knees. And then roll onto your side body so you can watch the next movement. So in the next movement, we're going to use the block and the belts. You'll start by wrapping the belt or the strap around the ball mounts of your right foot. You'll extend the leg above the hip, and it doesn't have to be straight above the hip. It can be further away. The straighter the leg, the more opening you'll get. So you can take your heel further away from your hip. You'll reach with your right hand as close to the right foot as you can. Keeping this left knee bent, you'll take the leg out and rest it on this block. So you may have to adjust the block depending on how open your inner thighs are. So the closer you take it towards the hip, the less of a stretch it is. You do want to be comfortable in this position. So position the block to where you can, with ease, have the leg on the block, and then you'll straighten your left leg to the ground. Left arm will reach up. This time we're twisting the left side towards the right side. So you'll press the leg into the block, and then you'll roll your left side towards your right side. So the hand will reach towards the foot. Inner edge of your left foot is pressing into the floor. And then you'll roll open. So roll, and then roll open. So go ahead and grab your block, grab your belt, bend both knees, and then lift your right foot and wrap your strap around the ball mounts of your right foot. Extend the leg above your hip, keeping the heel where you need it to be, wherever you can straighten your leg. And then grab the belt with your right hand. Left knee stays bent as you take the leg out to the side. Take the block and rest it anywhere on the leg where you can comfortably stay in this external rotation with the knee straight. So the closer it is to the hip, the less of an opening it is. And then once you're in that position, go ahead and straighten your left leg. Reach your left arm up towards the sky, so wrist above your shoulder. Start to push your right leg into your block to give the stability to roll your left side towards your right side. So inner edge of your left foot comes to the floor. Again, hip stacks, left hip stacks on top of right, and then roll back open. So explore this rotation, noticing that each time you roll into that closed position, that the more you press the leg into the block, you create more of a stable foundation from which to roll your left side towards your right side. Next time you roll closed, stay closed. Press the inner edge of your left foot more into the floor, and then reach your left arm beside your ear. So bring the arm up beside your ear. So this is Virabhadrasana III while we're lying on the ground. So keep pressing inner edge of the left foot down, extend the crown of the head up towards your hands. Roll back onto your back body. This is half moon pose. Bend your left knee, release your right leg back in, take the strap off the foot, bend both knees, and switch the block to the other side. Bend your left knee in towards your chest, wrap the belt around the ball of your left foot, and extend the heel above the hip or away from the hip as needed. Grab with your left hand as close to your foot as you can, and then allow the leg to drop off out to the left, using the block to position the leg into a position where you can comfortably sustain that stretch, and then extend your right leg long to the ground. Left arm above left shoulder. Start to press the outer edge of your knee or thigh into the block, and then roll the right side towards the left side. Roll open and start to explore this movement. What does it take to find that strength, that stability in the lower body to rotate the inner body, the upper body towards the leg? Are you pressing the inner edge of the right foot down into the floor? Are you able to find that as you twist? Is one side different than the other? I find it way easier on one side than the other. Next time you come into that closed position, stay there. Really start to press the inner edge of your right foot into the floor, outer thigh into the block, and then reach your right arm beside your ear. Keep pressing inner edge of the foot down. Keep pressing thigh into the block. Reach the crown of the head towards your hands, finding this reclined Virabhadrasana III. So we're building a foundation to take the fear out of it when we come into a standing position. So working our way up, grounding, rooting, foundation. Roll back onto your back. Keep pressing the outer thigh down into the block, heel into the floor. So our half moon pulse. And then release, bending right knee, releasing belt from the foot. You can hug both knees in towards the chest and just take a few rounds of rotating the leg bone in the hip socket. And when you're ready, roll over onto your side and watch the next move. So we're gonna expand on our first move, which was with the knee bent. We're gonna do it this time with the legs straight. So arms come out to the side. I'll just demonstrate this once because we've done this. So right hand comes across the chest, reaching out as you push the foot straight up. So heel is above the hip. Hip is above the other hip. Left foot is pressing into the floor. So you're getting this charge here, getting this charge here. When we do half moon pose, this is our standing leg. This is our foundation. The outer hip has to work to bring the hip into alignment over the other hip. So go ahead and come onto your back. Left leg long to the ground. Right heel directly above right hip. Go ahead and start to charge up your right leg. So flexing toes towards your head, reaching heel towards the sky. Take your right hand across your chest, reach it towards your left hand as you roll onto the left side body. Really push the right foot up towards the sky. So stacking right hip on top of left. Feel the outer hip. Press outer edge of your left foot into the floor. Heel, hip, and shoulder all in one line. And then start to move back and forth. So as you start to move, start first by pressing the foot up towards the sky. Sometimes it helps to actually look at your foot as you move back and forth. You want to try to keep the foot or the leg and the hip socket to minimal movement. So can you keep the leg stable throughout this rotation? The next time you roll onto your left side, stay there. Bring your left hand, your head into your left hand. Make sure your left heel, hip, and shoulder are all in one line. Press the outer edge of your left foot down, press your right foot up, and can you reach your right hand towards your right foot? Stabilizing using that power of your right leg and hip, pushing the leg up towards the sky. So not grabbing the foot, but just reaching. So it takes more of the hip to stabilize than the hand grabbing the foot. Roll back down onto your back, bend the right knee in and roll it inside the hip socket a little bit. Switch legs. So right leg long to the ground, left heel above left hip, arms out to the side. Look up towards the left foot. Pull your toes towards your head, reach the heel towards the sky. Turn the right leg out slightly. Left hand comes over the chest and reaches towards right hand as you push left foot up towards the sky. Roll back down onto your back. Explore this movement. As you roll onto your right side, push the outer edge of the right foot down. As you roll out onto your right side, stack your hips and push the foot straight up towards the sky. Try to minimize how much the leg moves in the hip socket as you come from that neutral position on your back to that externally rotated position on your side. Next time you roll onto your side, stay there. Take your head and place it in your right hand. Press outer edge of the right foot down, making sure heel, hip, and shoulder are all in one line. So sometimes we take the foot back or forward to find more balance, but we want to use the hips to create the balance. So make sure everything is in one line. Press the heel down or press the edge down, and then press the left heel up and reach your left hand as if you were going to grab your foot, but don't. So the right outer edge is pressing down, left heel's pressing up, glutes work to hug and stack the left hip on top of the right. Roll back down. Draw the left knee in towards the chest and make a few circles in your hip. And then come up. You can either roll up or roll to either side to come up. Hi, Rush Dog. We're going to go ahead and take our mat to the wall. So take the short end of your mat up against a wall. And you'll need a single block. So just have the block out in front of you. We're going to explore just movement inside the hip first. So we're looking at the leg that's staying on the ground. And when the leg stays on the ground, you kind of want to keep this straight line of the leg and the hip socket. So I'm going to demonstrate. Left knee is on the floor. I'm going to look at my leg as I lift the right knee out to the side. So there's this tendency of when we lift the leg out to kind of pop the hip out on the other side. So you can see my hip pop out. You want to resist that, bringing the leg in, keeping it in one line. So when you take the leg out, you only lift the side out as far as you can maintain that in your hip. So come on to your hands and knees. Knees hip distance apart, tuck your toes under, hands underneath your shoulders. So we're going to balance on our left knee first. So tuck the toes under and power that leg. Hover right knee off the floor and just simply take the knee out to the side and then down. So it may help a few times to just look at your left leg. Notice if that left hip wants to pop out, and notice what you have to do to keep it in. And then start to make circles with your knees. So bringing the knee forward towards your chest, then out to the side, back and through. Can you maintain that stability in your outer left hip? Switch directions. And bring both knees down, sit back, take a break on your wrist, roll them. And then switch. So come forward, hands and knees again. Knees hip distance apart. Look at your right knee. Hover your left knee off the floor. Notice what happens to that outer right hip. Keep the leg bone stacked inside the hip socket. And start to take the left knee out to the side. So only going as high as you can that you can maintain that right hip staying stacked over your knee. And then start to take circles. So left knee comes forward, out and back. Keeping right toes tucked under to help stabilize. As you start to make circles, is the hip staying maintained in neutral. Switch directions. And bring it both down. So sit back and you can rotate your wrist as I show you the next step. So we're going to bring right hand onto the block, toes tucked. We're going to take right knee out to the side. And then we're going to use, I'm going to switch directions so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to use this leg, so the planted leg, to open that other leg up. So this hip hops in as you stack your hip on top of the other hip. So we're not pushing out, we're pushing in to bring that knee out as far as we can. So take right hand onto a block, left hand onto the floor, tuck the toes under, lift your right knee out as far as you can, keeping leg bone stacked on top of your knee, and then start to press your outer left hip in to stack and lift right knee up as high as you can. So push the inner left thigh towards the right side of your mat. Take it down and explore this a few times. So you feel that the lift of the top leg comes more from the outer left hip, pushing in towards the midline, and the thigh pressing towards the opposite side of your mat. Next time you come up, stay up. Extend the leg towards the wall and find the foot on the wall. Knee is still below your hip. Bring your left hand or your right hand to your hip. So the back of your left hip, push the butt in to then open. Stacking right hip above left, right shoulder above left shoulder, and then reach the arm up. Spread your foot that's on the wall and push the foot into the wall. So you can find the power of the top leg. The more you push the foot into the wall, the more stable the hips become. Keep pushing out our left hip in to bring that hip, right hip directly on top of the left. Good. Release hand to the block and release knee, right knee beside the left knee. Switch hands. So right hand is on the floor. Left hand is on the block. It may help to come up on the fingertips. It seems to help me. So right outer hip is doing the work. Lift left knee out as far as you can, keeping hip above knee. And then start to push right hip in, pushing the thigh towards the left side of the mat, stacking left hip on top of right. Close and open. Noticing as you move into that most open position, it's more that wrapping of the hip, the outer right hip, to stack left hip on top. The next time you open, stay open. Bring your foot to the wall, repositioning your right knee so the knee's underneath the hip. Lift up onto the fingertips, really push inner right thigh towards the left side of your mat, and then stack left hip on top of right, shoulder, left shoulder on top of right, and reach left hand up towards this guy. Push your left foot firmly into the wall. So spreading the sole of your feet, finding your foundation. Keep squeezing outer right hip in as you press the thigh, inner thigh, towards the left side of your mat. Notice what you feel. And then bring your hand back to the block. Bring your knees together. Bring right knee towards your chest, cross right knee in front of left, and sit back. We're kind of taking a moment to stretch it out. Shift forward. Bring your left knee in front of your right knee and sit back. So we're going to take this foundation, what we're feeling, what we've kind of put into our body, and we're going to put it into a flow now. So we're going to start to come away from the floor, taking the knowledge that we have found, taking the stabilization that we have created, and now bring it into that and a thing that might create some dis-ease, some fear, and we're going to face it. So blocks at the front of your mat. You'll stand at the front of your mat. I'm going to stand to face you so you can see. Feet hip distance apart. Outer edges of your feet parallel. So find your root, sound your foundation, hands to the tops of your thighs. Bend your knees as you slide your hands down your thighs. Take the hands to the outside of your knees and press out. So finding that same feeling we've been feeling. And then bring the hands back to the tops of the knees. Keep feeling the outer hips. Slide back up. Slide down. As you do, push your knees slightly out without moving them. So just finding that outer hip. Shift the weight into your right foot, and without moving the right hip out, kick left heel to hip. So knees are still in line. Bring both hands to your thighs. Come up. Bring the knee forward. Slide down. Keep the knees bent. Bring them together. Left foot is still off the floor. Slide up. So each time you come down, that outer right hip is staying in line with the knee. So you're going down and up. One more time, come up, come down, knees are together, bring your hands to your heart, bring the left leg to the back of your mat and step into Virabhadrasana 1. So warrior 1. Right knee is above your ankle joint, outer right hip, still finding that outer hip, hugging in, drawing back. Bring your hands to your heart. Shift forward about halfway. As you shift forward, pull the outer right hip back. Start to bring the weight more to the right foot as you come onto your left toes. Transition Virabhadrasana 3. So both hips maintain alignment as much as you can with the 4. Press the foot, left foot, as if you're pressing it into a wall behind you. Outer right hip still hugs in. Inner thighs pressing towards the left side of your mat. Bend the right knee, bring your foot back to the floor. Arms come over your head and open up to Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Press down through the feet, so find your foundation. Outer right hip rolls in and back. Inhale, reverse your warrior. As you exhale, side bend. Bring your right hand to the block. So use a block. I don't have one here, but use a block. Walk it forward, slightly outside of your right foot. Take your left foot up slightly, toes to the ground. Find your outer right hip. Hug it under. Start to press through your foundation. Your right foot, hand comes forward with the block. And then as you lift, find that movement that we've practiced throughout the class. So as you were on your side, the leg that you were pushing up towards the ceiling is the leg that is now on the floor. So push the foot into the floor and then wrap left hip on top of right hip. Press the foot as if you're pressing it into the wall. So hips stacked, left shoulder stacked on top of right. So this is Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. The knees facing the same direction as your toes. Bend the right knee, shift back to Virabhadrasana 2. Bring the arms through center as you come into crescent warrior, so coming onto your back toe as you square towards the front of your mat. Exhale, hinge forward, hands on either side of your right foot. Step to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Heel toe the feet wide. Exhale, sit back into Malasana. So yogi squat, and just taking a moment to kind of let that hip that works so hard kind of stretch out. So you can close the eyes and move back into the breath. So we've explored these two poses independently. So again, we're kind of creating that sense of creating the foundation, putting together the pieces that we need to overcome our fears, to kind of move into the dark side of a weird transition. Hands to the floor, toes face in as you fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Fingertips into the hip creases, lift all the way up, reach arms over your head. Exhale, hands to heart center, and walk your feet so they're hip distance apart. Hands to the fronts of your thighs. Hands come down the thighs as you send the hips back. Hands to the outsides of the knees, just press out to find that feeling in your outer hips and then slide back up. Slide the hands down. This time, feeling the resistance of the knees out as you slide down. Shift your weight into your left foot without popping the left hip out. Bring right heel towards your hip. And then come up. Right knee comes forward as you come up into standing. Bend left knee, bring the hip back, slide hands down the thighs, knees come together. Still balancing on left foot, slide up. So explore this a few times, really with the awareness of the outer left hip pulling back to maintain the hips in neutral rather than that hip pop. Next time you come down, stay down. Bring your hands to your heart, extend right leg behind you as you step to the back of your mat and come into Virabhadrasana 1. So arms over the head, left hip still in, so not that pop. Bring it in. Ground down through your foundation, so feet firmly press into the floor. Hands to the heart, hinge forward halfway. Knee above the ankle. Start to come onto your back toes. Bring the back foot up slightly, really feeling outer left hip pull back. And then transition Virabhadrasana 3. So balancing on left foot, flexing right foot, press as if you're pressing into the wall. Keep rotating outer left hip back to stand in that neutral hip position. Bend the knee, foot to the floor. Open up, Virabhadrasana 2. Ground down. Outer left hip pulling back, wrapping down towards the floor. Inhale, reverse your warrior. As you exhale, side bend and bring your hand to the block, slightly to the outside and slightly forward of your left foot. Right foot steps up slightly. Bring the left foot hand a little further forward. Outer left hip pulling in. Inner left thigh pressing towards the right side of your mat. Push down through the left foot to bring right foot on top. Leg on the ground first. Press down through the foot and then pull the outer hip in to stack. Right hip on top of left. Flex the ankle, push the foot towards the wall, really stacking the hip. And then right shoulder above left, hand reaching up towards the sky. Bend the knee, come back, Virabhadrasana 2. Reach right arm through as you come onto your back toe, square towards the front of your mat. Crescent warrior. Hands on either side of your left foot. Step to the back of your mat, plank pose. You can either move straight to downward facing dog or move through vinyasa, chaturanga, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. So you have the option to rest in down dog, finding that same hip stretch. Or if you prefer, you can hop to the front of your mat and rest again in malasana, so either is an option. So is your foundation becoming stronger? Are you finding that information, the knowledge, which is what we do when we work towards manifesting whatever abundance we're trying to create? We put the pieces together. Come up onto your toes, gaze between your hands. Step or hop to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach up, stretch up, arms come over your head, gaze up, hands to heart center. Feet hip distance apart. You're still at the front of the mat. I'm gonna face you. Hands to the tops of your thighs. Same thing we did. So hands down your thighs, hips back, knees slightly resist out to find outer hips. Shift your weight into your right foot without moving the hip out. Bring left heel towards your hip. Come up. This time, stay up. Take your left hand and let your knee hang in your left fingers. Stack your right hand on top. So the movement is from the lower leg. It's as if your lower leg is rotating open to the right as the rest of you rotates open to the left. So right leg bone rolls out as head, sternum, and knee move in one line to the right, left. Rotate in. So right leg bone moves to the right as head, sternum, knee move to the left. So do this a few times. So really finding that right leg bone rotating in the opposite direction as the rest of your body rotates. Next time you rotate out, stay out. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn your right foot towards the back of your mat and rotate open into Virabhadrasana II. So warrior two. Inhale, reverse your warrior. As you exhale, side bend and bring your right hand to the floor or to the block. Left hand comes to the other block. Come on to your left toes. I think it's the opposite. It's your left foot, or no, it's your right foot. Right foot is bent, or right knee is bent. You're on your left toes. Bring the block slightly forward. We're going to come into Virabhadrasana III with your hands on the block. Position the hands so they're directly below your shoulders. Start to press left foot back and start to find that same movement in your right hip. So the leg bone rotates out to the right. Keep that action. Both hands stay on the block, and then rotate your left outer hip towards the sky. So now you're stacking your left hip on top of your right, but the leg bone of your right leg rotates out towards the right edge of your mat. Rotate hips towards the floor. So knee, toe, and hip of the left leg rotate down. Rotate your right leg bone out as you stack left hip on top of right. Rotate back into neutral. So Virabhadrasana III. Rotate right leg bone out to stack left hip. Bend your right knee. Come back, Virabhadrasana II. Rotate front of the mat. Exhale, hands to the block, step to the front of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach arms up and over your head, gaze up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Feet hip distance apart. Hands to the tops of your thighs. Slide down, finding resistance in your outer knee. Shift your weight into your left foot. Keep keeping the hip back as you bring right heel towards hip and come up. Hand in your knee, or knee in your hand. Stack left fingers on top. Rotate left leg bone out as you take the whole body towards your right. Rotate back. Rotate left leg bone out as you rotate the rest of your body open to the right. Try this a couple more times, really feeling how that leg bone rotating to the opposite side stacks basically the hip in this standing position. Next time you open, stay open. Bring both hands to your hips. Turn left foot towards the back of your mat. Step back into Virabhadrasana II. Outer hip of the left leg pulling in. Reverse your warrior. Side bend. Left hand to the block. Come onto your right toes, right hand to the block. Square your hips. So knee, toe, and hip of the right leg square to the floor. Outer left hip pulls in. Walk your block slightly forward. And then transition Virabhadrasana III. So left leg slightly rotating out so that that left hip stays stable. Right foot presses back as if you're pressing into the wall. As you rotate left leg bone out to the left, rotate right hip open to stack on top of left leg bone. And then come back into that squared position. Push. Inner left thigh towards right side of the mat as you rotate the leg bone towards the left side to stack. Rotate closed. One more time. Rotate open one more time. And then transition back into Virabhadrasana II. Swing right arm forward and through, crescent warrior. Exhale, hands to the floor on either side of your left foot. Step to the back of your mat, option for vinyasa or option to rest in downward facing dog. I'm going to put all the pieces together to see if we can make that transition without the helps of the block. So we have the pieces. And we just have to face our uncertainty, to kind of explore if we have the tools needed, knowing that we can always opt to go back to what we did the last time with both hands on the block to make the transition. So we have that there. Shift your weight onto your left foot. Firm the left thigh, reach the right leg straight up and back. So this is Virabhadrasana III. Rotate left leg bone out as you press left thigh towards the right side of your mat to stack left hip, right hip on top of left. This is kind of Ardha Chandrasana. Then again, square the hips. Bend right knee to nose. Step right foot up between your hands. Lower left heel down and in. Hug outer right hip in, rise up, Virabhadrasana I. Rotate open, Virabhadrasana II. We're gonna go back to Virabhadrasana I, crescent warrior, so come onto your back toes, hug the outer right hip in. Hands can stay by your ears or hands to heart. Hinge forward, step left foot slightly forward, hug outer right hip in, transition, Virabhadrasana III. So press left foot back, square hips towards the floor. Right hand comes to the block. Start to rotate right leg bone out as you stack left hip, left shoulder on top of right foot, right hip. Keep rotating right leg bone out, pressing right thigh towards left side of the mat. Transition back, Virabhadrasana II. Swing left arm forward and through as you transition, crescent warrior. Both hands on either side of your right foot. Step back, Virabhadrasana, or this is down dog. Shift your weight onto your right foot. Firm the right thigh, rolling the leg bone out. Lift, left leg up and back. Square the hips towards the floor. Then rotate right leg bone out more to stack left hip on top of right. Square hips towards the floor. Then left knee towards the chest as you step, left foot up between your hands. Right heel down and in. Inhale, rise up, Virabhadrasana I. Just because we did the last time, Virabhadrasana II. And then swing through again to Virabhadrasana I, and then lift heel off the floor to crescent warrior. Arms either stay beside your ear or hands to heart. Fold forward halfway. Hug outer left hip in, rolling the leg bone out. Transition, hip stays squared towards the ground as you lift, Virabhadrasana III. Press, right foot back. Hug, hips in, rolling leg bone out. Hand to the block. Keep rolling left leg bone out as you stack right hip on top of left. Hand reaches up towards the sky, right shoulder on top of left. Press foot back, Press foot into the floor. Roll left leg bone out. Bend left knee, Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, Virabhadrasana 1. Lift the heel, crescent warrior. Hands on either side of your left foot. Either one final vinyasa or go straight to downward facing dog and breathe. So we conquered it. We made that transition from a closed hip position into an open, externally rotated position. When you have the tools, when you have the foundation, when you have the knowledge, which is that first chakra, you can step into that fear, that scariness with awareness. You've explored the darkness to find the light, which is that kind of expression of manifesting what you feel is impossible. Go ahead and lower your knees to the floor. Toes together, send your hips back towards your heels. Forehead stacked either on the floor or on your hands in child's pose. Take a few deeper breaths to slow the breath down. And then hands reach forward, shift to hands and knees. Cross your ankles, sit your hips behind your heels. Stretch the legs out in front of you and slowly roll down onto your backs. Once you arrive in your back, hug your knees in towards your chest. Drop your right foot on the floor. Cross your left knee over your right knee. Shift your hips slightly to the left. Arms out to the side, T to the body. Twist, knees to the right. So moving more into an internally rotated position of the hips to find a little bit of release in those muscles that we've worked. Sometimes, oftentimes, kind of that lack of knowledge, that lack of awareness, the darkness within our own physical body is the outer hips, the glute medius. And the glute medius is what drives that movement from neutral or internal rotation in the hips into that external rotation. And if we have that awareness, we can make that transition with a little bit more ease. Uncross your legs, center your hips, cross your right knee over your left knee, and then shift your hips slightly to the right and twist to the left. So first chakra is very grounded. This entire month has been extremely focused, both mind and body. It's that connection of our mind to the physicality of our body that helps us to manifest, that helps us to create. Go ahead and uncross your legs, come back to center. Center your hips, pull the knees in towards your chest. Open your knees, reach between your knees and grab the outer edges of your feet. Soles of the feet towards the sky, knees towards the floor, happy baby. You can stay still or you can rock. And then hug your knees in towards your chest one more time. Extend your legs towards the floor, finding your final resting posture, Shavasana. Allow your breath to slow. Allow your mind to release whatever thoughts come in. So acknowledging the thoughts and then letting them pass. So as we move from the bottom, the lower chakras, we use that connection, that foundation to the physical body, to the physical world. We use that as we move up the chakras to manifest more freedom in our body, but also in our minds, to open ourselves up to recognizing our true being, to connect to pure consciousness, to internalize those in order to connect to the world beyond ourselves, and to recognize that we are all a part of this greater consciousness. As we move into next month, I have decided to go, instead of up the chakras, all the way to the top. So we'll move into the higher realms of consciousness, the third eye and crown chakra. We'll take those two together. And if we look at it from coming from the upper chakras and down, we're coming from a space of mind, so ideas of concepts. And as we move down, we then move into that state of manifesting reality. So each month as we move through the chakras, we'll go from the bottom and then up, and then one step further from the bottom and up, with the idea of culminating at the heart chakra, that space of pure love. As you inhale, reach your arms over your head. Extend through heels or toes, finding that inner body length. Connecting your feet to the crown, to the arms. And as you exhale, bend your knees and roll onto your side body. And taking a moment here just to feel. Noticing how your body feels, where your mind rests, how your breath responds. And then using your hands and your arms, slowly press yourself up into a seated position. And as you bring your hands to meet at heart center, feel that first sense of awareness. Maybe it's even before the hands touch. And then as they come closer, feel that first skin to skin touch, and then press a little deeper, moving deeper within. And bow your head towards your heart, honoring your foundation, honoring your roots, feeling that sense of being grounded and connected, to rise above the fear, to recognize that within moving into the darkness, with moving into the fear, the chaos, we find awareness, we reach in to find the light. And thank you so much for spending this month with me. First chakra, Muladhara. The divine in me honors the divine in you. Namaste.